All right, diving into a pretty intense chapter this time.
Oh, yeah. This one's a journey.
Definitely. And, we always like to give a little bit of background.
Of course, set the stage.
So we're looking at this author who basically went through some serious medical stuff
Uh-huh.
years ago, like 25 years ago. We're talking meningitis, sepsis, even a rare blood disorder.
Wow.
Yeah. And this chapter is all about how she's reconnecting with herself after all that.
And not just reconnecting, right? It sounds like she's going for a full-on spiritual awakening.
Oh, totally. She's talking about unlocking her spiritual senses. Clairvoyance, clairsentience.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly. So think about it.
Okay.
You go through these intense physical traumas, skin grafts, muscle loss, years of hospital visits.
Right.
Could that somehow open you up to a different way of experiencing the world?
It makes you wonder, huh? Like those experiences cracked open a doorway to something bigger.
And that's where these spiritual senses come in.
It's like she's saying there's more to reality than what we can see and touch.
Right. And she's not shying away from it.
No, she's diving right in.
And she actually calls these senses human superpowers.
Human superpowers, huh? I like that.
Right. It's like these abilities are already inside us, waiting to be activated.
Like dormant potentials, just waiting for the right conditions to emerge.
Exactly. And for her, it seems like those medical challenges were the catalyst.
It's like they rewired her system somehow.
Maybe. Yeah. She starts the chapter talking about how vivid her physical senses are.
Oh, interesting.
Like they're heightened, more intense after everything she's been through.
Makes sense, right? Like your body's gone through this extreme experience.
Right. And she's so in tune with those physical sensations
Yeah.
that she starts to wonder.
What if there's more?
Exactly. What if there are senses beyond the physical ones?
Mm-hmm.
Senses that can perceive energy, unseen realms.
Okay, so she's going beyond the 5 senses we all know.
Way beyond. She's talking about feeling the energy that governs our existence, seeing what cannot be seen.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
It is. But then she has this realization that really throws a wrench in things.
Oh, what's that?
She realizes she's been silencing a huge part of herself.
Silencing. What do you mean?
She was so focused on survival during those traumatic times that she shut down her emotions.
Like
She learned to manage her mind, detach from her feelings.
a coping mechanism.
Exactly. But it came at a cost.
She lost touch with her authentic self.
And her sensuality, she talks about how she became this expert at controlling her mind.
Interesting. So she was almost too in her head.
You could say that she built this fortress around her heart, kept everything locked away.
Protecting herself.
Yeah. But now she's realizing that those walls have to come down.
If she wants to truly experience life.
If she wants to connect with those spiritual senses, she has to open up.
It's a brave step, isn't it? Letting go of that control, embracing vulnerability.
It is. And she makes a conscious decision to do just that.
To release her mind and surrender to her senses.
Exactly. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Because she's not just talking about physical senses anymore.
Right? She starts to connect the dots between her physical trauma
The scars, the limitations.
and what she calls her spiritual trauma.
Spiritual trauma? What does she mean by that?
She's talking about the suppression of her true self, the years she spent silencing her emotions.
So it's like the physical and the spiritual are intertwined.
Absolutely. She's recognizing that healing one requires healing the other.
It's like a holistic approach.
You could say that. And she even uses this incredible analogy to describe her healing process.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
She talks about her body going through operating system upgrades after each medical challenge.
Operating system upgrades. That's a powerful image.
Right. It's like those experiences forced her system to evolve, to adapt.
And maybe that's what opened her up to these spiritual possibilities.
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? Like she was being rebooted, reprogrammed.
Wow. And so she starts writing as a way to process all of this.
Yeah. Writing becomes her way to reconnect with her body, explore those deeper layers of herself.
Writing can be such a powerful tool for healing.
It is. She talks about how it helps her tap into the sensations of her body, sensations she had been dissociating from for years.
It's like she's re-inhabiting her physical form through language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as she reconnects with her body, she starts to explore this interplay between her mind, body, and soul.
She's going deeper, exploring the interconnectedness of it all.
And she's not just thinking about it, she's experiencing it. She talks about welcoming thoughts as guidance, focusing on intentions.
And she starts to notice these incredible synchronicities.
Like her thoughts are manifesting in her reality.
Whoa, that's wild.
It is. She's tapping into this field of infinite possibilities where her beliefs are shaping her experiences.
So it's like she's realizing she has more power than she thought.
Exactly. But she also senses that something else is at play, a force beyond her conscious control.
Something bigger than herself.
Exactly. She even mentions this feeling that her soul was guiding her mind rather than the other way around.
That's a fascinating concept. Like, our soul has its own agenda.
Right. Makes you wonder, are we really the masters of our destiny? Or are we co-creating our reality with something much greater?
And if that's the case, how do we learn to listen to that deeper wisdom? How do we trust the path it's unfolding for us?
Those are some big questions, and that's exactly where this author's journey takes us next.
I'm ready. Let's dive in.
Mm.
And, as she's talking about all of this, she keeps coming back to this idea of labels.
Labels, huh?
Yeah, like how we're constantly trying to define and categorize everything.
It's true. We do love our labels.
Right. And she's really wrestling with that. Like, on one hand, she gets labels can be helpful.
Sure, they give us a framework.
Exactly. But then there's this other part of her that's like, wait a minute, I'm more than just a label.
Especially after everything she's gone through.
Right. Like, she's experiencing this expansion of consciousness, this awakening to the interconnectedness of everything.
And those neat little boxes just don't fit anymore.
Not even close. She talks about how labels can create limitations, how they can box us in.
And for someone who's trying to break free, to explore uncharted territory,
Those labels feel like chains.
holding her back from truly experiencing the fullness of who she is.
Exactly. But here's the thing, she's not trying to fight against labels.
Ah. So she's not saying get rid of all labels.
No, not at all. She's more about finding a balance.
Okay, I'm listening.
She's saying, look, I respect your need to use labels if that works for you.
But don't try to label me.
Exactly. She's drawing a boundary saying, I'm going to define myself on my own terms.
Powerful, right?
Definitely. But it gets tricky when those labels start to creep into her personal life.
Oh, like within her family.
Exactly. She talks about how certain labels start popping up in her family dynamics.
And it creates this inner conflict for her.
Because it's one thing to reject labels in theory.
But when they're being applied to you by the people closest to you,
That's a whole different ballgame.
it forces you to confront some deeper stuff.
And that's exactly what happens to her. She starts to realize that her aversion to labels might be masking something else.
Masking something else. What do you mean?
She starts to wonder if maybe in her attempt to avoid being labeled,
She was actually avoiding something much deeper.
like intimacy,
Vulnerability.
the fear of being truly seen and known.
Wow, that's heavy.
It is. And this realization leads to a pretty intense experience for her.
Okay, tell me about it.
She describes this feeling of being split, of her soul almost separating from her body.
Whoa, like a literal separation.
It's a powerful image, right?
Yeah,
It speaks to this deep sense of fragmentation she's feeling.
like she's coming undone.
And it freaks her out, understandably.
Hmm.
So she decides to create a sacred space for healing.
A sanctuary where she can put herself back together.
Exactly. She talks about using crystals, aromatherapy, quiet contemplation.
Creating a space of peace and harmony.
And she also talks about this idea of raising her vibration.
Raising her vibration, what does that mean?
She's talking about shifting her energetic frequency, aligning with love and healing.
So it's like an intentional shift in her energy.
Exactly. And she believes that by doing this, she can attract more of what she desires into her life.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
It's all about creating a space where healing can occur, where she can reconnect with her true self.
And it sounds like she's really intentional about it.
Oh, absolutely. She's not just hoping for the best, she's actively creating the conditions for her own healing.
And that's where these tools come in. The crystals, the aromatherapy.
They're helping her to shift her energy to create a more harmonious state of being.
And then, in the midst of all this, something really incredible happens.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
A spirit guide appears.
A spirit guide. Tell me more.
Not just any guide, though. This is a soul from her past. Someone she holds dear.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. She describes feeling this soul's presence in such a tangible way.
Like they were right there in the room with her.
Almost. And this guide offers her comfort, validation, encouragement.
It's like they're saying, you're on the right path. Keep going.
Exactly. And what's even more mind-blowing is that this soul's physical reality seems to be mirroring her own spiritual alignment. Mirroring How so?
It's like their lives are intertwined on an energetic level, reflecting and amplifying each other's experiences.
So it's not just a coincidence.
Not at all. It speaks to this deeper connection, this synchronicity that defies rational explanation.
And it seems like this guide is really there to support her on her journey.
They're acting as a mentor, a wise friend, a source of unconditional love,
And through this connection, she starts to understand that her mother's spirit has been guiding her all along.
even though her mother has passed away.
Exactly. She describes feeling her mother's presence in a tangible way.
Like she's never truly left her side.
And it fills her with this incredible sense of gratitude and purpose.
Knowing that she's surrounded by love and support, even from the unseen realms.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're never truly alone.
That there's always a web of love and connection supporting us, even when we can't see it.
But as she continues to explore her spiritual senses and connect with these unseen realms,
She encounters a new challenge.
what's that?
The struggle to integrate her experiences, to make sense of everything she's learning.
It's like her mind is trying to catch up.
Exactly. She's being bombarded with all this new information, all these intense experiences.
And it can be overwhelming.
Totally. She talks about feeling fragmented, like her mind, body, and soul are operating on different wavelengths.
Like she's coming apart at the seams.
And there's this constant tension between her analytical mind and the intuitive guidance she's receiving.
Her mind wants to understand, to categorize, to make sense of everything logically.
While her heart is urging her to trust the process, to surrender to the unknown.
It's that classic battle between head and heart.
And it can be exhausting trying to reconcile those two perspectives.
But even though she's struggling, she's still drawn to the light, to the love that she knows awaits her.
That yearning for love is what keeps her going.
It's her guiding star.
And as she surrenders to that longing, she starts to feel a shift within herself.
A sense of peace, a sense of wholeness.
Like she's finally starting to come home to herself.
Embracing her true nature, stepping into her power.
And as she does that, she starts to see the world in a whole new light.
A world filled with beauty, wonder, and infinite possibilities.
And it's like, as she's going through all of this, she starts to sense this feeling.
This feeling.
Yeah, like she's not alone. Like there's something bigger happening.
Something bigger.
She actually calls it a global wave of healing energy.
A global wave of healing energy. Okay, I've got to hear more about this.
Right. So she's basically saying there's this massive energetic shift happening all over the world.
And it's amplifying people's spiritual senses.
Exactly, guiding them towards wholeness and healing.
It's kind of giving me chills, like we're all connected to this powerful force.
And it's lifting us all up, you know?
Yeah, it's like we're all riding this wave together.
Towards a brighter future. And what's interesting is how this wave seems to be accelerating her own healing process.
So it's like it's working on a personal level, too.
Absolutely. As she becomes more aligned with her authentic self, she starts attracting experiences and people that resonate with her soul's energy.
It's like the universe is responding to her inner transformation.
Exactly. It's like she's sending out a signal, and the universe is like, okay, here's everything you need to evolve.
And it's not just about personal growth either, right?
Yeah.
She also starts to feel this connection to a romantic love.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get really juicy.
So all this inner work she's been doing is making her ready for a love that's deeper, more meaningful.
Totally. She's not settling for anything less than a love that's aligned with her soul.
And she really believes it's out
Well,
there.
she knows it is. There's this beautiful sense of anticipation building, this knowing that her soulmate is on their way.
But she's not rushing it.
No, she's trusting the process. She's letting go of the need to control everything and allowing herself to be guided by her intuition.
Guided by her heart.
Exactly. She's surrendering to the flow of life, knowing that the universe has a plan for her.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is this idea that our inner world shapes our outer reality.
Like we're creating our own destinies.
Exactly. This woman's journey shows us how powerful our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions really are.
So if we want to experience more love, more abundance, more joy,
We need to cultivate those things within ourselves first.
and trust that the universe will respond accordingly.
It's not always easy, but it's so worth it.
It definitely gives me a lot to think about.
Me too. It's a reminder that we all have the power to create the life we desire,
And to tap into that global wave of healing energy.
to connect with our spiritual senses, to experience those deeper levels of awareness.
It's all possible.
Absolutely. Just gotta trust the journey.
So beautifully put.
Oh.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this question to ponder.
Oh, I love a good question.
How can you cultivate that trust in the unfolding of your own life?
How can you tap into the wisdom of your soul and allow your deepest desires to manifest in the physical world?
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep believing. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.